scene.
Razorback Nation, what is up? We are back with episode 77 of Hawgs on the Hill, your go-to place for an in-depth dive on Arkansas sports, where we're brought to you by our friends over at Razor Pigs. Looking good, never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand, bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Founded right here at home and now run by a Razorback-loving family, Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us and our friends over at Scarlet Letter. Arkansas offers its very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas, check out the Core Brewery Tap Room where you can get Scarlet Letter and all of its various flavors, as well as their new hard iced teas. Thursday night rematch on deck for Arkansas and Texas Tech on Saturday. We are in the midst of the 2026 college football or SEC schedule reveal. How are we doing tonight, Zane?
Doing pretty good. So, seeing kind of the schedule that, you and me were talking about before we went live, obviously it's a tough schedule. We know that. We knew it was going to be rough. We're going to find out real quick how, maybe not how the season will go, but we're going to be challenged pretty quick. I know we're talking week 2 is at Utah. Week 3, Georgia comes to town. So right off the bat, we're gonna get some challenges right off the bat. So it'll be interesting. But how are you feeling about the schedule?
Yeah, all I've got to say is Coach Silverfield, buck up and let's go. I mean,
yep.
You can't be scared of the schedule. It's the SEC. You know what you're getting into, so take it head on and. We'll see what happens. A big part of, judging the schedule is getting an idea of what this team's going to look like next year. And we found out some more guys that are staying next year. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, as well as some of the coaches that will be joining the staff additionally from what we talked about on Sunday. But first, we'll open up and go ahead and talk about, like I mentioned, Arkansas has a rematch with Texas Tech on Saturday at 11 a.m. In the American Airlines Center down in Dallas. This one, I think, is one that a lot of Arkansas fans are ready for after the way things ended last year in the tournament.
Yeah.
And, I think it's going to be an exciting one. Texas Tech comes in this matchup 7-2, same as Arkansas, ranked 16th, Arkansas 17th. So, we're right there next to each other. They are coming off a win over LSU as we're coming off that win versus Fresno. So,
I was looking at the schedule. Both teams 7-2. BPI rank, we're 28, they're 24. Net, we're 26, they're 20. But strength of record, we're 24, they're 26. So pretty close on everything. If you look at in terms of kind of high power, kind of like your power conference opponents. We lost by 3 at Michigan State, lost to Duke by 9 on neutral side, beat Louisville by 9 at home. They've had 4 so far. They lost the 2 true road games. They lost at Illinois only by 4, and then they lost by 30 at Purdue. That's obviously not a pretty game. But then also Wake Forest, they beat by 1, and LSU, they beat by 24 this past game, 82-58. Actually, same exact score as us in Fresno. Looking at them, looking at kind of the stats where they rank in the country and all, the thing that really scares me is their offensive rebounds per game. They're 17th in the country. We are 221st. So they definitely have a rebounding advantage over us. They do shoot threes at a higher clip, a little bit higher percentage. But I think a key to this game is controlling the tempo. Our scoring margin's higher. We score more. We allow 1 point more. But if you look at it, their fast break points are 238. They only average 9.9 fast break points a game. Arkansas, on the other hand, is second in the country at 22 fast break points a game. Control the tempo, and I think not only in addition to having that tempo kind of in our favor. If you go look at their bench points per game, we're 28th in the country with 35.3 a game, and they have 16.4, good for 334th. So they are very much a starter-heavy team. I feel like if we can get them in foul trouble, we should be okay. Get that up and down tempo like that our guys do like to play. Also, they don't exactly shoot a great free throw percentage. Their free throw percentage is 292nd in the country, and we're 15th. So definitely, in addition to controlling the tempo, being physical, being aggressive, it's obviously going to be tough with how they rebound well, but definitely got our bigs, got our work cut out for them. So it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Right, and you read my mind there. That's what I was going to say. When you said the first thing of how they rebound, this is going to have to be a Trevor Brazil, Nick Pringle, Malik Ewing game. They're going to have to really step up against these guys, especially JT
Again, like
Toppin.
we've said last few shows, Malik Ewing has definitely shown some kind of signs of how he was playing last year. His stat line last few games has been pretty good. So definitely need him to keep going with that improved, kind of just confidence and play the way we know he can play. Obviously, we know Pringle's super physical, and we know Brazil is probably one of the most important guys on the team for us in terms of just, we can't let him get in foul trouble early. That's going to kill us. His ability to step outside, his ability just to kind of stretch and play everything is definitely vital for this game. So, looking at all the stats, really the rebounds are the only thing that really scares me about these guys. If you can go, and also with having our guards attack the rim the way they do, if we can get one or two of their guys in foul trouble, should not be too big of an issue. Obviously, knock on wood, but that's going to, obviously I'm not the coach, so I don't know. But that would be my game plan is attack, because I trust our depth over theirs. And if we can just, eliminate their one or two big guys, we should be a little bit easier. So
right.
It's kind of my quick sky report on it.
Right. And so you look at it too, their guards, Christian Anderson and Donovan Atwell, Christian 37.8 minutes a game, averaging about 19. Donovan 30 minutes a game, averaging 12. I'll take our guards over those any day. Again, it's gonna be one of those games where we're gonna be tested down low, and hopefully Cal keeps trying to pull out the Nick Pringle we know and saw at South Carolina last year. It can be just a dominant
really
physical
see
force.
Last year, but want to see this year. So
exactly, and like you said, we have the deeper bench. You look at their stats for their roster. You only have 6 guys above 20 points a game or 20 minutes per game that play.
I think I saw something where their top 2 guys are responsible for like 40-something% of their points, and it's like a lot lower percentage for us. Like they are very, very much relying on one or two guys.
Right.
Obviously, granted, their main scorers are post players, so it's a little bit different. But in terms of kind of seeing their stat breakdown, kind of how everything's split, very much reminds me of kind of, those teams a few years ago with Note or with Mason Jones, where, it was very heavy rely on one or two guys. So if you can mess with just one or two guys like that, instead of having to worry about all 5 on the court, that definitely helps, make things a little bit easier. So
agreed. Game plan, in terms of, rebounding is going to be key, but, offensively, like you mentioned with our free throw clip there being intensely high, I'm telling these guards drive, especially at Toppin, so you can get him in foul trouble early. And, that's going to be a recipe to have success in this game.
Yeah, for sure. And free throw attempts, I mean, right now we're 80th in the country, but they're 175th. We average almost 3 free throw attempts more per game. So it's definitely a strength of ours. I feel like almost need to even utilize more than we have been, just because, I feel like the potential's there. Shooting free throws at such a high clip, having such explosive guards. I mean, obviously, I hate to be one of those teams that relies on, 30, 40 attempts a game, but that's kind of one of our strong suits when it comes to similar competition as we're looking at for Saturday. So, as much as I hate as a basketball fan seeing a game play out like that, hey, you got to get a win when you can. So
exactly,
maybe it's our advantage to do that.
And that's the thing. These teams are very close, even though the points come from different areas, but identical in a lot of stats. I mean, you look across, we average 87.6 points per game. They're 81.4. We're allowing 71 per game. They're allowing 70. We shoot 47% from the field. They shoot 44. Rebounds 38.9. They're at 40.3. Assists
very, very
17.1 for
similar.
us. Yeah. These teams are almost mirrors of each other stats wise, but then almost 180 in terms of where a lot of your points come from, because for Arkansas, you're guard heavy on your points with Darius and Malik, whereas
but also just more balanced.
Right.
Like, I definitely like seeing that. So, because what are their top 3 points per game? I want to say it's 1 and 2 way up there, and then third drops off a lot.
Yeah, you got JT Toppin at 20.8, Christian Anderson at 19.1, and then their third leading scorer drops down to 12.
Okay, so they are very much a 1-2 punch. So if you can mess with 1 or 2 of those guys, it should make things a little bit easier. Obviously, easier said than done, though.
Right. Whereas you look at us, Acuff 17.4 points a game, Malik Thomas 16.9, Brazil 12.6. And then you've got a whole balance of guys that average about 8 points a game. DJ, Carter, Billy, Malik, all average 8 points a game. So, I mean, you look at that point scoring spread across all those guys, that's where, to your point, we're a little bit deeper. If a guy gets foul trouble, no big deal. One of these other guys can easily step up.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those games where I may not be opposed to seeing, 30 fouls called each way. So,
right.
Normally I'm very much against it, but looking at the roster breakdown we're up against, I might actually prefer that this game.
I agree, and it's going to be a fun one to watch. It's going to be one of the, I feel like, more premier games on Saturday. You've got, looking across the slate for Saturday, not a ton of ranked matchups, so we're going to be one of the top matchups on the day that's going to be playing in terms of ranked teams.
Yeah, I see 4 ranked matchups for Saturday. So
Illinois playing Nebraska,
Arizona, Bama, and then UCLA, Gonzaga.
Yeah, so not a ton of big-time matchups going on. One I'll circle to watch that's not a ranked one, but just with how their season's been. Look for Indiana to sneak up on Kentucky potentially. It is a home game for Kentucky, but still.
I hate to say it, I don't know if it's going to be much sneaking up on right now, just with how, Kentucky's been struggling lately. So I hate to say that. I would not be surprised at all if Indiana pulls that one out. So
right.
Indiana was ranked last week as well. Both of them were. So, but
yeah, and I think that comes after.
Indiana was 22nd. Kentucky was 18,
and they're 8-2. So they're coming off a win against Penn State, but then prior to that, they lost to that same Louisville team that we beat. They lost to them by 9.
Okay.
But then they beat Penn State by 30-41.
Man. Okay, then.
So yeah. But and this is going to be a good matchup, especially, these older guys. You're thinking about DJ, Carter, Billy, Trevin, all these guys that were on this team last year that lost to this team in the tournament.
Yeah.
They're going to want to get.
You remember how, I hate to say it, we pretty much had that game and choked away at the end. It's one of those, I think Cal said earlier this week, watching back on the film, it's like, how did we lose that game? How did we end up losing that? And so now it's, hey, this is a chance for some payback and kind of, get things right. Kind of, obviously, regular season games not going to make up for losing in the Sweet 16. But somewhat of a, get a bad taste out of your mouth, let's go.
Right. It's a pride feel-good game. It's like, let's get ours back.
Exactly. And definitely need to get to 2-2 on these marquee non-conference games.
Exactly, because you got 2 more, set up in this week and next week. So, but it cracks me up if you missed it. Cal was talking about the Texas Tech team in his presser this week, and he's talking about how they have a lot of older gentlemen that seem to have beards. So, talking about how they're an older squad. Of course, JT Toppin being that key player that they got back this year. But it's funny
he's the one that worries me.
Yeah.
So,
and if he's the one you can get in foul trouble or kind of locked down, I mean, that that's going to be the guy probably Brazil is locked on the entire game when he's in. So if not, when he's get a break, stick Billy on top and then let him go.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, I'm happy either way. If we do Billy, I love Billy, but I just don't know with Toppin's bag of post moves. I just feel like that might end up getting Billy in foul trouble. So I feel like we're going to need
maybe Knox.
Yeah, but mostly Brazil. Maybe throw Pringle on if they're going post heavy with them. Not even trying to stretch it. They're trying to hammer it into the paint. Stick Pringle or Ewan on him. So, I mean, obviously it'll be interesting to see. I trust Coach Cal to have it all kind of ready. So,
agreed. So Saturday, 11 a.m. on ESPN2. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited to watch it, see what this team does against their next marquee opponent. Like you mentioned, we got that win against Louisville. Let that momentum build. You got the win over Fresno like you're supposed to. Let's go into this game. You got an extra day off this week, no midweek games. So this team should be fresh. Whereas, kind of the same thing for Texas Tech. They played on Sunday. We played on Saturday. So, they're coming off a break as well. So,
yeah. So, definitely one that I'm going to be excited to watch, see what all happens with it. So,
100%. So, as we move on and jump into football, Coach Silverfield's been making some more moves this week, not only with his staff, but also with, some of the guys returning. We got some of that news this week throughout the week, as we already knew. KJ Jackson, Quincy returning. Well, two big pieces announced they were returning today, and that's your center, Caden Kittler, returning, and Kobe Branham as well. That's good news to see those two guys come back after earlier this week. Big Shaq McCroy entered the portal. So, to bring two key pieces that were starters on your offensive line.
Branham was all freshman SEC team, right? Was that today? Okay. So, definitely big to get that back.
I was about to say, you got a few more guys to work on and go through this roster, but, those are two key pieces that to go along with KJ Jackson on the offensive side of the ball, that I'm glad to see it back. The other big name that entered the portal today that I hate to see is linebacker Tavian Wallace. Talented freshman, probably didn't get as much playing time this year as he should have. With the way the defense was this year, I'm not going to trust that they made the right decisions in personnel at times. So, hate to see a talent like him leave, but, I'm going to, for all intents and purposes, trust Coach, and, he's going to go out in the portal
for sure
and get some guys.
Yeah. Right there with you. I'm excited to see the portal open up and see kind of what we can do from there. Definitely hate seeing Wallace leave, though. That was going to hurt.
Yeah. And, other than that, not a ton of announcements in terms of guys coming back and whatnot. But we do have announcements in terms of guys joining the staff. And the big one today was one that I wasn't, I guess, expecting to see was that we are stealing the GM from Arizona.
Yeah, Crowley. So
I'm not going to try to pronounce that first name. So, Gaiska Crowley. So he's previously been in Arizona, where he's been the GM the past 2 years. Going to take over as the football specific GM. So he's going to work with Cofield to be our football specific GM. He's a guy that really helped Arizona level up their talent in these past 2 years. You look at last year, Ted McMillan coming out of Arizona. Them having a decent season this year prior to his experience there. So he was in personnel at Eastern Illinois and then both at UNLV and Western Michigan, where he played a pivotal role and Lance Taylor establishing the foundation components for its roster at Western Michigan to win the Mid-American Conference Championship. Then he joined Brent Brenham at Arizona, where they capped one of the best turnarounds in college football this season when they won 9 games and earned the invitation to San Diego's Holiday Bowl. So he's going to be able to come in and be a big help for this Arkansas team that, quite frankly, they needed a reset. We got it. So
yeah, and already, one promising thing there is not just, hey, he has Power 4 experience, but he was pivotal in a turnaround at a Power 4 level school. So he's already helped kind of bring one back from a couple bad years. So hopefully he can help do the same here.
Right. And you even had Tom Loy of 24/7 Sports, quote tweet that saying that he was coming and said home run hire for Silverfield. So it's like people are taking notice and they all agree that this is a big pivotal hire. Yes,
for sure.
In terms of other new coaches that will be headed to Arkansas, David Johnson, the guy we were talking about that's headed over from Florida State as running back coach, is officially here. If on Twitter, he posted his first picture of the Razorback practice facility today. And then we had some offensive line hires this week with, of course, we were hoping to keep Eric Mateos, but that just wasn't in the cards. And so he departed. But
Wisconsin, I think, is where he just –
yes.
I think that was today where he said he's going. So
yes. But Coach Silverfield quickly turned around and hired Jeff Myers, who is his O-line coach at Memphis, but also brought on an additional coach in Marcus Johnson from Ohio State, who is an assistant O-line coach there. Not sure how those roles are going to be spread just yet, but, hey, I'll take 2 O-line coaches.
Hey, you know what? Watching our game against Memphis this year, their O-line looked very, very good, especially for a American Conference versus SEC. I'm more than happy with that.
So. Right. So it's like you go out and, have, that knowledge applied to SEC level talented guys. And, I'm sure these guys are ecstatic that they get to come in their first year in the program and have Caden Kittler and Kobe Branham back. So
yeah, for sure. Good cornerstone pieces for the O-line. So,
and then, earlier in the week, it was announced that Darren Wilson will be back for his second stint at Arkansas.
Yeah.
Back when he was here previously under Travis Williams, that was probably one of the better secondaries we had, ranked top 5 in the SEC in interceptions and pick sixes. So really knows how to coach secondary. Not sure why he left, but glad to have him back. Joining him in the secondary will be CJ Wilford as a safeties coach and TJ Rushing as a cornerbacks coach.
Yeah. So definitely liking the hire so far. Really no confusion as to, why do we get this guy? So, I don't really find myself, double guessing his options so far. So that's
right. Not any backlash on the hires. A lot of people just being like, okay, low key good hire type of situation. Everybody's, the only thing that, Silverfield's getting a little critiques on is he said that he's going to wow us with his staff. And hey, maybe that's true when this all comes together and we see the product on the field. But I think a lot of people were just maybe expecting high profile type names. And, that's good and all. But I mean, if you get some solid coaches that can build solid, whether it's a position specific coach, or if it's your offensive defensive coordinator, then come in and, get the right scheming set up for this team to have success. Either way.
I mean, sometimes your big name, well-known guys may not be the best options. Just, one of those, hey, get someone who knows it and gives that extra effort. Hey, I may not be one of the most well-known of this position coach, but you know what? I'm going to work my butt off until I am one of those. Get someone with that extra motivation in there. Might work out better. I don't know. So
exactly. And so, as we continue on, as the days go by, we'll find out new guys that are leaving the team, joining the team. Mainly right now, just leaving the team or returning. We got a couple weeks until portal opens, so once we hit that, that's when things will start to ramp up and be busy. But until then, as we mentioned at the top of the show, you had the SEC 2026 schedule reveal show going on, and now we have our entire SEC schedule along with our regular non-conference schedule, which is only 3 games this year due to the additional SEC game we added. And so we'll start going through this game or the schedule for next year. So September 5th, you open up with North Alabama at home. Standard week 1 type of game.
Yeah.
Take care of business. Get your first chance to see this team. Probably going to be very vanilla playbook. Not going to, show a whole lot. Get your guys out there, knock the rust off type of game. Week 2 is where the fun begins as Arkansas takes their first road trip of the season and heads to Utah. As we know, Utah program that, that is consistently good and always a tough place to play. So that's going to be Arkansas's first test of the season, see what they can do. And, of course, they'll be playing against in-state recruit Kane Archer. He more than likely will not be playing in this game, but, he will be on the sidelines for this Utah team as that's where he ended up signing.
Yeah. So definitely good early test, see how we are. Because it's not like we're playing a bottom dweller of another power conference. We're playing a team that, they know what they're doing. They're in bowl games consistently, find themselves in top 25 consistently. It's definitely a good program. It'll be a good test, especially for the next week. So
right. And like you hinted next week, all right, you went to Utah. Time to crank it back up as you have your first conference game of the season with Georgia coming to town. So Georgia will be headed to Fayetteville since it'll be the first time since we played them
in
COVID year 2020 here. So, you got to brace for impact there. That's all I got to say. I would love to see Arkansas pull an upset there, but at this point, keep it close. Let's play a good game.
For sure.
This is going to be game 3 for Coach Silverfield. So, I don't want to say I'm not expecting him much, but when game 3 of your head coaching stint at Arkansas, Georgia, it's going to be rough.
It most likely will be a rough game. Obviously, I'm hoping for it to not be a rough game, but hey, you know what? If they do somehow pull off an upset, I'm 100% in then. But it's going to be a tough game if we're being realistic. So,
right.
But I guess my big concern there will be, maybe not concern, but my big kind of area of interest is how does our O-line and D-line stack up? Because I feel like Georgia always has one of the best of both. So if we can at least, not allow 10, 15 sacks, if we can, actually contain them somewhat and hold our own against them, gives me a little bit more hope as the season progresses. So that's going to be kind of a key thing I'll be looking at for that game.
100%. And that's part of what I'm interested to see. What direction does Silverfield go in terms of D-line coach? So, that's one of the position coaches we don't have yet. So I'm interested to see who he decides to bring in that spot. Week 4. So week 4, you jump over and you have Tulsa at home. So, your third and last non-conference game of the season.
Yeah.
Tulsa at home. Just go in and take care of business. Bounce back from, whatever type of game you have against Georgia.
For sure.
Get ready for a road trip as Arkansas will head to Texas A&M and Kyle Field to take on the Aggies. The second year of the home and home as we are not playing in Jerry World anymore. So we got them here last year, took them down to the wire, and let's hope that we can do that next year on the road at Kyle Field.
Yeah, that'll be, again, another tough game. I'm going to say that a lot about the schedule, but, it's one of those, hey, can you keep it close? Can you keep it competitive? Have a couple breaks go your way, maybe get lucky there at the end of the game. I think I hinted at a few shows ago, like, we had enough breaks not go our way this year. Surely we are due for 1 or 2. But
right.
So
And I think the big key for this game next year is going to be whether or not Marcel Reed is under center for Texas A&M or not.
Yeah, once we know that, that'll be interesting to see. If he's back, they're probably looking at playoff again, if I had to guess. So
Right. Then you jump over the next week. You come back home to play Tennessee at home. Another one of those where we don't really know what to expect out of Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, they're always going to be in high-powered offense. What kind of defense are they going to have? It came out the other day they're hiring former Ohio State defensive coordinator that was at Ohio State when they won the title, and Jim Knowles. So he joined after Ohio State. He joined Penn State's roster and James staff at Penn State, and so now he is headed to Rocky Top.
So the defense will probably be a little bit better next year. So, that's one of those where, they had they probably had a little bit better offense than we did this year, but we were at least able to keep it super close with them having a little bit of a weaker defense. So I thought we're going to need some drastic improvements to do that again this year, because I feel like with that hire, their defense is going to definitely be better next year than it was this year.
Right. And then you take another road trip to Nashville to take on the Clark Lee-led Vanderbilt team that finished the season with 10 wins in the regular season. Hopefully we're not talking about having to face Diego Pavia, but I'm not going to rule anything out at this point.
I don't know how, but if he's under center again next year, I'll just go, okay, that's just what he does, I guess. So, it's one of those, looking at their roster build, I think they're kind of one of the teams that I can expect a little bit of a drop-off next season, mostly because he will be most likely gone. Obviously, it's not going to be an easy game.
Right.
I mean, I think they've kind of set an expectation this year, like, hey, we're going to be competitive. We're going to be okay.
Looks like we lost Zane for a minute, so we'll see if he bounces back here in a second. Lovely technical. There we go. You're back.
Oh, God, I love it. So, but yeah, I was just saying, hopefully they're a little bit easier competition next year than they were this year. Even though we didn't play them, still, I don't think they'll be quite as good next year.
Right. They got to be prepping for Diego Pavia to leave as they flip the 5-star quarterback from Georgia this recruiting cycle. So, they're prepared for him to leave. So,
yeah, and hopefully, take advantage of a couple freshman mistakes there. So,
yeah. Then you come back home to take on Missouri. I'm glad to see this game in this slot, which means we'll talk about it here in a little bit. There's an even better game at the end of the season, at least in terms of tradition. So,
yeah, for sure.
You got Missouri.
So. About Missouri, we do have that bye week in between. Rest up. And I do like how, our bye weeks after game 7, between 7 and 8. So it's pretty much in the middle, 7 before, 5 after. I like that a lot better than, hey, you play 3 games and have a bye, then you run through a 9-week stretch.
Right.
Good to see, get some rest, heal up, recover, and then hit that final stretch, because there's some good games in that final 5-game stretch as well. Missouri will be interesting as well. They always, I don't know what it is. They tend to have our number, though, a lot of years. So hopefully.
Hey, maybe Coach Silverfield can change that.
Hey, maybe so. And hopefully, not being that Thanksgiving week time slot is what we needed. Get them out of that stretch. Maybe we can get lucky with them. So
then as you enter the month of November, you'll be headed to Auburn as these two programs face each other with year 1 coaches, as we will take on Alex Golish leading Auburn, the guy who a lot of people thought was going to be Arkansas's next head coach. So this one's going to be a battle of who can build the best team in year 1, and hold on to recruits, current players, hit the transfer portal. I think this will be a big thing.
another big thing there is, both these coaches will be their first year at the teams, but they coached against each other this year. So
Exactly.
they're
So they're going to
familiar
be
with each other. So it'll definitely be interesting to see.
yeah. Then you come back home, take on South Carolina, and another familiar face going to be on the opposing sideline as they hired Kendall Browse to be their new OC. As somebody said, he gets to come back in the SEC and coach KJ Jefferson 2.0 and Lenore Sellers. So
You can't
that's
exactly
going to be a
argue with
fun
that,
game.
though. I think you're right. I think that's a pretty fair comparison.
Exactly. And then you take another road trip in back-to-back years going down to Austin as we'll take on Texas. Going to be led by Arch Manning in year 2 of starting, which
Should be.
ideally you'd think he'd
Obviously,
be
in
playing much
case
better.
someone were to pull him away, but I don't see him going anywhere else. But yeah, that'll be a tough matchup because as the season progressed, he just got a little bit better and better. So it'll be interesting on that game. So
Right. And then you finish up the season Thanksgiving weekend with a fantastic tradition game and playing LSU for the Battle of the Golden Boot.
yes,
Day after Thanksgiving, I will take it 100% and
I
can't
much
get much
prefer
better.
that game on this week. Much prefer LSU on rivalry week.
Exactly. Not to mention it moving back to this time slot, the next thing after that would be moving it to Black Friday.
Yeah, can't get too ambitious or too greedy there. At least get on the right week. We can work back to getting Black Friday.
Exactly. This is progress. So
Yes.
it's going to be a tough slate for Coach Silverfield this first season, but I would like to think a hopeful 6-6 would be doable.
Yeah, I think if I'm being realistic here, I'm looking at I think 4-8 or 5-7 realistic, most likely. But I could see, we could get lucky on one or two of these. I think Utah will be a close game. I could see 6-6, 7-5 might be pushing it, but if I had to be, if I had to put money on it, I think my money would be on 5-7. So still improvement from this year, but yeah.
Yeah. So, it's going to be a fun season to watch, see what we get under year 1 of Coach Silverfield. As you mentioned earlier, 5 players for Arkansas were selected to the all SEC teams, freshman all SEC. You mentioned it earlier, Kobe Branham, as well as our kicker, Scott Starzik. AP second team all SEC, Mike Washington, tight end Rohan Jones, and Quincy Rhodes, who will be coming back looking for that first team all SEC.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely like to see that. So like to see him coming back after that nomination, or I don't know what the word would be, but
right. So it's going to be a fun one. I'm excited to see who else we get back over the coming weeks.
yeah, for sure.
But as we're talking college football, in case you missed it, which would mean you're living under a rock, insane news broke out of Michigan yesterday. If you didn't think that the whole Petrino situation could get worse, Michigan just 2-3 upped Petrino, and the situation is there.
I mean, obviously you hate to see that happen. Obviously not only, for multiple reasons, you hate to see it happen. You see a family torn apart, and you see not only that, but it happened on a very public scale. You see a guy really struggling at the moment. Obviously hope he gets the help he needs. But yeah, no, it was crazy seeing, because it was like, news broke, he was fired, and then more stuff kept coming out. It was just like, oh, okay,
Right.
okay.
Like,
it was like, I don't even know how to react to it, because it's just like oh, at least it's not Arkansas it happened to. But like,
Exactly.
you still don't want to see that happen. Obviously, like that's still
Right.
horrible. So yeah, that's rough. It's rough. It's kind of the ugly side of, I guess, being such a public figure as a head coach for a power school. But yeah, just
Right.
not good news at all.
And I
But
think that's the thing you mentioned right there. With not only is it a head coach of a big time program, but you're the head coach of one of the premier
yeah,
schools in college football. What, 2
one
years
of
off the
the
national
one
championship?
of the most history laden programs too. Maybe not top 3 or 4 all time, but they are up there all time. I mean, their rivalry game is called the game for a reason. Like they're
Right.
a big time program, and so it's just hate to see it. Obviously, hope everyone kind of gets the help they need. I think the thing I hate the most is just how public it all is. Because just like thinking about like the wife and kids, it's like, oh, like that's hard, like that's horrible. They're having to go
Yeah.
through that, but yeah, just something you don't want to see.
Yeah. One of the big questions now that we got to find out is what does this mean for college football in terms of, all right, Michigan's got to hire a new coach. Hey,
Yeah,
who's going to be willing to step into that mess that's going on now? But
yeah.
also, then what domino effect are we going to have? Because a lot of people were talking about today. Oh, now look, DeBoer can leave Alabama and go to Michigan,
I
and then
did
Lane
see he
Kiffin
was like
can,
second most likely according to odds or something. I'm like, okay, like there goes
and
more
then
domino effects. Is Lane Kiffin gonna pull like a little? Hey, I'm here at LSU for a
the
week and a
reverse
half,
Uno
and now
cards
bye.
say, "Hey, just kidding."
Yeah, I don't know. It's that's just we're all sitting here ready for the transfer portal to open up so we can follow that. Now we're like, okay, well, what's the coaching search going to go?
Right. I was
It
about to
is
say, and
hard,
that's just bad
especially
timing.
yeah, horrible timing. I mean, you saw so many coaches hired in the past week and a half or two, where now it's like now you're kind of at slim pickings unless you want to really cough up some money and go take someone from another school. So,
Right.
I mean, obviously, national signing or early signing period has already started, so that's also a whole nother kink in
Right.
the
How many
hose
kids
to
want out of their
figure out.
national letter of intent? What
Yeah,
players now are going to enter the portal? Do they make the decision to just run with an interim until next off
who
season?
are those players if they end up being out of their letter of intent? Who's pursuing them? Where do they end up going? So
I'm sure
definitely
all
a big old domino effect.
I'm sure all eyes are going to be on Bryce Underwood as star quarterback last offseason as far as coming freshman. Had a decent up and down season, but one of the top names if he enters the portal is going to be easily one of the top,
Yeah,
if not the top player in the transfer portal. So
yeah, it's definitely going to be big. So yeah,
so
it'll be
as we think everything gets quiet and all the chaos is over, just kidding.
yeah. You thought we were done with this, we're not. So, but yeah,
But
it's definitely just one that's going to be interesting to follow.
yeah, so as we get ready to wrap up here, like we said, no midweek game to talk about this week. Arkansas takes on Texas Tech Saturday at 11 a.m. on ESPN2. This will be a neutral site game as it will be in American Airlines down in Dallas. As neutral site as you can call a game against a Texas school being in Texas. I mean,
Yeah. Hey, at least it's not like TCU.
true.
At least they're a little bit farther away than that.
Exactly. So get ready for that on Saturday. Stay tuned with us as news breaks with coaches being hired, players leaving, players declaring to come back. We'll have that across the social media feed. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, App Podcast, Spotify. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. That way you don't miss any time we go live and any news we have to bring you. Don't forget to go follow us across all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, whatever it is, we got it. So should be a fun weekend of Arkansas basketball. We'll be back on Sunday to recap this. little bit earlier than normal, but we're still going to be here on Sunday. So let's get ready to wrap up. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And for Zane,
Real
myself,
fast.
go ahead.
Do you want to mention what time it is on Sunday? Just people are at least aware.
Yes, so we're going to shoot for around, and this is still tentative, around 2 o'clock on Sunday. A little bit earlier, but still same show coming at you. So be prepared for that, and we'll talk about it on Sunday. We'll have a change for next week's show as well. For the midweek show, with holidays and stuff coming, things are a little bit dicey and up in there. So we'll keep you guys tuned in to when we'll be live. So with that, again, don't forget to like and subscribe. But for Zane, myself, we're going to get out of here, and we'll see you guys on Sunday.
Adios.